got me thinking about, people always say like, oh, you could just bury me in that, and it's kind of like the phrase, I'll die on this hill. And I was thinking like, just bury me in Red Bull, like just bury me, not quite literally in the grave with it, but like I will drink Red Bull and I will not stop no matter what. So what is your like bury me in it thing?
That Viking berry monster? Oh, give me that all day.
Monster Viking berry?
Yes, it's legit.
Well, cheers to bury me in an energy drink, I guess.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Draft Digest. The sickest NFL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
There's
Welcome.
Candy can. This is amazing.
Post intro cheers.
Absolutely.
Welcome to another episode of the Sick Podcast Draft Digest. I am your host, Emily Van Buskirk, alongside John Vogel. And we are post Senior Bowl podcast, which is crazy because I feel like we just did the one where we were like, yeah, we're going to talk about everything afterwards. And then like that, it's here. Does that not feel like how January went? It was just like here and then it's gone.
Yes.
Crazy.
It was insanely fast.
Shortest
2026 is off to, a fun start. We've already had, the whole bowl deal. We've gotten through the All-Star season. We've got one left, actually. It's a HBCU Legacy Bowl and Combine that will be on, I think it'll be in 2 weeks. They were doing it in New Orleans and they moved it, I think, to Virginia, I want to say, or Washington. So Washington, D.C. So that's coming up here in a couple weeks. And yeah, we are officially looking forward and ahead to the NFL Combine.
I know. And then the draft. This is so crazy. There's been some off seasons where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is giving me enough time. But I feel like this off season in particular is going to go so fast. And obviously we'll talk about the playoff structure a little bit later because that does play a big part in it, because football is like nearly year round now for college, which I guess is what it is, because if we're going to pay them like pro athletes, we might as well get the most out of them. I don't know. It's weird, but this is where we are. So
college football is the biggest thing going on in, in sports right now. Really, It's got the biggest growth, the most interest, the contracts,
most controversial topics.
Obviously, yeah, it's a wild west right now, and even college basketball can't top the drama and everything that's been going on with this. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
We're going to touch on that stuff at the end of the episode, so make sure you stay tuned until the end. But let's start off with, obviously, the Senior Bowl. We talked about a lot of guys who you were excited about in the first couple of days of it, seeing practices and how people were moving. But now we have the game over with and done. And I'm curious your thoughts on guys that maybe surprised you, guys that both good and bad, and maybe people that weren't a surprise at all. So hit me with your highlights, John.
Well, highlights. That's the key phrase here, because we both know I could spend a long time talking about all this.
Yeah, I'll keep you in mind, but I'm very curious because I know nobody watched the game more surreptitiously than you. I'm excited for your analysis.
So a couple things that kind of popped out interesting to me. So first off, let's start with our boy Cage Casey.
Yeah.
Phenomenal week through practice. Handled speed, handled power inside. Now, I think I had told you I didn't think he'd hold up at tackle, and there were reps that he didn't look good at tackle, but at guard, he was phenomenal. And then I also got the scoop that he's going to take snaps at center. I can't remember if that was you or somebody else that sent that to me. So I don't want to
It was not me, but
okay. No. So at his pro day, he will be running in probably the combine too. He'll be running through center drills. And taking snaps or snap reps at center, to show that versatility. So he had a really good week. I think he's gonna, when we get to the testing numbers, if you remember, Gray Zabel last year was that guy that kind of blew up at the combine, and then
Yeah.
that's when there was an actual first round hype for him. I think that's what we're gonna see with Cage this year.
He's an all around good kid and like nice, genuinely nice person, good family guy. I literally, the conversation I had with him was about him and I think it's his wife. I'm pretty sure they're married, having kids, and how fun fact about Cage Casey, his wife is, I'm pretty sure it's his wife. I don't want to say that wrong, but his, lady is the only one that Spencer Danielson trusts to watch his newborn. So he had just had a baby prior to the season. And when I asked him, who'd you let babysit from the team? He immediately said, Cage, and then his wife, or his lady being the main one. So I thought, if your coach is trusting you with their newborn, it's a pretty ringing endorsement.
That's saying something. That's absolutely saying something. Yeah. No, and that's funny because Gray Zabel last year, when I talked to his mom at the Senior Bowl, she and actually her husband both, his dad, both were like, yeah, when we get older, he's gonna, Gray's gonna be the one that ends up taking care of us. Like, he's not gonna let us go to a nursing home.
He's the
which
guy.
is interesting because that kind of plays into the whole watching a newborn kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that, and I know that question gets asked a lot on social, like, oh, who would you let date your daughter? I like the question, who would you let babysit your newborn for a night? Because that really will tell you real quick, like, who the guy you can put the baby / the ball in their hands. So.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the other team who stood out. Golly, there's so many. Let's talk about Markel Bell, offensive tackle, University of Miami. He had a great freaking week of practice, and yeah, he got steamrolled. I think in his first rep on the first day of practice, with Derek Moore just went straight over him. He didn't get his feet set, and it was embarrassing, but he held up the rest of the week with his feet set. And, his measurables are absolutely insane. He's almost 6'9". He's 358 pounds. He's got 36.5-inch arms. He's the huge, freakish being.
Yeah.
And, we've seen some of these left tackles kind of come into the league that are big like that. They're just big brutes. He's right there in that category.
Okay.
The other guy I think that I would be remiss to not mention would be Demetrius Crownover. I think he probably made the most money on the offensive line. And I'm focusing on the offensive line right now because it was such a rough group to watch. And, I know we've talked about it. I know I've talked about it on Space and on radio in the past couple of weeks. This defensive line group is really good, and this offensive line group is really not. So that's why I'm focusing on the offensive line, because the guys that really stood out, these are the guys that are going to make money.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that really did well for themselves this week. Demetrius Crownover out of Texas A&M had a really good week of practice. Okay. He's just kind of this big brute left tackle, very much to the mold of Markel, not as big. He's only just, a tick under 6'7" and 331 with 35.5-inch arms, so he's not as big as Markel Bell. He's still big, but his basic technique is it doesn't. If you try to engage with him in any way, he just wraps you up, and he's so strong you can't get past him. He had a really, really stout week, and that's a guy I think that teams will be looking at in day 2, if not at the end of day 1, to come in and either bring depth to the left tackle or go ahead and plug him in as a starter. So,
okay. I like that group. I mean, I always love giving linemen love. I sat next to the Remington Trophy representative at the Doak Walker Award on Friday, and he was shocked that I knew what it was and people that had won it. And I was like, we love linemen over here. We're big center and come on now. But he was like shocked that I could name 2 of the winners, which was funny, but they deserve more love. And they're big, draftable. They're draftable guys for teams because it's such an important position. I don't think people get lost in the quarterback and running back of it all. But linemen, they're important.
So let me look at a couple guys here real quick.
Yeah.
because I focused on the positives with the offensive line.
Oh,
Now
we
let's
have
look
some
at the
negatives.
not positives on the defensive line. Okay, we're gonna totally flip it.
Okay.
There were a few guys that came into the week that a lot of people were excited to see. I'm gonna start with Cian Sloan out of North Carolina State,
Okay.
edge rusher, and then I think I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Quintavious Hutchins at Boston College. Both of these guys had something in common. They were just too small.
Mm.
Like they could not, unless they had a full running start and they were able to just breeze by somebody. There was not a thing that they could do all week of practice.
That's tough.
Didn't look great in run stuff either. So they were just too small. And those are a couple guys that, so Quintavious is 6'2.5" and 229. He could still explore potentially a move to to a linebacker. Same thing with Sloan. He's 6'3", 239. He's just not quick enough off of his first step to really be able to create a lot of separation. Both of them look too small at times. The last guy and on the defensive line, let's talk about Darrell Jackson Jr. I've been asked about him a lot. Florida State.
Yeah.
Late addition to the Senior Bowl, came up from the Shrine Bowl, had an okay week at the Shrine Bowl.
Okay.
He's just a big freak guy, okay? Like he's quite literally 6'5", and he's 330. He's got incredible length. He should test out the wazoo. You just don't see him use his traits very well consistently. And that's kind of the thing that I struggle with him with the evaluation. He has no production. And when I watch him on tape, he just does not create, separation. He doesn't create, he doesn't have the strength to extend and use his long arm. There's not a lot that he really brings outside of just being a straight up bull rusher. And then even then you're like, okay, you've got the size and the power. You should have the size and the power to absolutely go through people. And he doesn't. This is a late round guy. I understand why they brought him up. He's got intent. He's got the measurables are insane.
Yeah.
Quite literally. If I pull up the Shrine Bowl stuff, I'll tell you exactly what they were. I didn't put him in the Senior Bowl notes because he didn't measure there. Well, he didn't measure there, so I put him in the Shrine Bowl. 6'5", 328, 35-inch arms, 11-inch hands. He's got an 86-inch wingspan. Like he's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the kind of player that if I'm seeing this kind of length, I want to see you extend. I want to see a long arm. I want to see you with brute power. And he just doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have it. And it sucks.
You know what's funny about the group that the people you just talked about in the negative column, or I don't say negative, but did not impress as much. And this may be a reach, but those two schools, Boston College, Florida State, both have coaches who are in the hot seat currently and who have been, I wouldn't say accused of, but have been said maybe do not develop talent. So do you think that there may be some truth to that, especially given that these guys should have that kind of talent given their measurables and their size and all that stuff, but just don't?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I think in the case of North Carolina State, when you've got a guy that's 6'3", he's 239, you can absolutely get away with playing him as an edge rusher in the ACC.
Yeah.
That's very plausible, especially if you're quick enough.
Right.
The SEC would be less forgiving. The Big Ten would also be. And so when you come up to these types of events, that starts to kind of show.
Yeah. So you're saying level of competition does matter in that regard.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So the biggest problem with level of competition, I think I touched on this briefly on a space I was driving home last night, and I just threw on a random space and was like, yeah, I'm just going to throw this out there to the world because I'm thinking about it. I think it was with level of competition, there's no way to measure it. There's no way to quantify it.
Yeah.
And then project it forward, right? It's just impossible to do.
It is. It's like apples and oranges. You can't, unless you have a common opponent, with players that they both played and how they played them. But again, each game is different, so it's tough.
So what ends up happening when you have a level of less competition, it's a lower level, is players don't get developed in the right situations, the right positions.
Right.
In the ACC, you can get away with certain things. You can get away with not having great hand strength. You can get away with being strictly a bull rusher and be productive. Not in the SEC, not in the Big Ten. That's why those schools get robbed every year. It feels like, we were talking about them having the most draft picks that's why, because they're playing in the right positions. And it goes back to what we talked about with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's an anomaly because nobody in high school right now has the luxury to take their 6'3", 225-pound, junior and say, hey, can you play running back? Because that guy's playing edge rusher. That guy's playing, if he's not playing edge rusher, he's middle linebacker or he's tight end. You don't have that luxury typically to take that body type and plug him into that position. So that's what makes Derrick Henry an anomaly, is that no one was ever going to be built like him, or there will be very few people built like him with his athletic ability, because he hasn't been developed in that position. He's been playing other positions.
Yeah.
So in the case of Sloan and in Hutchins, both ACC schools, both, and then Florida State as well. All of them are ACC schools.
That's interesting.
These are guys that are undersized, and they've been getting away with being able to play that position that they're in. And if they had been at a bigger school, or if they had been in a different situation, they could have been moved and developed into maybe a position that's going to fit them better at the next level. Right. So now they're behind the 8 ball.
Right. But do you think that teams see, you're saying you can't measure that, but obviously that, and other people are able to suss that out and see the potential in somebody if they are then put in the right position? Or do you think it's too late at this point?
You cannot guarantee it, right?
Yeah. You're taking a chance regardless. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of the things I talked about the other day. I think it was yesterday, doing the space, not my space. I've been so busy lately. Been talking about all kinds of different stuff. So it's like hand technique.
Right.
I've learned in my 8-9 years doing this now that you don't project hand technique. You don't project somebody figuring it out, because very few people do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
When you think about moving a defensive lineman, an edge rusher, to linebacker, that's one of those projections that you can't project. There's just no way to, unless he has 200 snaps on tape already where he's done it.
Yeah.
You can't project it, and it's because the skill set's completely different. If I'm looking at a linebacker, I want to see you play with instincts. I want to see play recognition. I want to see you understand what's going on around you and be able to position yourself. There's zone coverage ability, there's man coverage ability. If I'm an edge rusher, even a stand-up edge rusher, I'm not doing that nearly enough.
Yeah.
And because my first priority is set the edge, and my next priority is, if it's a pass, go get the quarterback. So it's a simplified version of the game. It uses a different skill set. Very difficult. It's almost impossible to project that over to another position. So that's one of those things where, if I'm a team and I get an opportunity and during a 30 visit, I'm going to bring in Cian Sloan because I like his size and I think he might make a good linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm going to run him through every linebacker drill I've got to try to get a better idea of it. And even then, I'm still projecting that he's going to be able to recognize plays and be effective at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every day. Zach Bonds aren't just lying around everywhere, okay? Zach Bond moves from edge rusher to linebacker, and next thing you know, he's an all-pro linebacker. Like, that just doesn't happen every day. That's an extraordinary story.
Yeah. It's crazy. None of these guys have crystal balls, so they don't know for sure how these players are going to pan out, and you can just make your best educated guess. But I like to think that, for the most part, especially on the line, that guys can learn. They're pretty smart. Aren't centers supposed to be like the smartest guy on the field?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But it's not saying that they're not smart. It's saying that the level of understanding and knowledge that you have to have going into that is very hard to project onto somebody. even long term.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Let's pretend that you got to algebra and you didn't go any farther beyond that in math, right?
Okay.
That's just for the case of this. But me as a math professor, I've got a math team, and I'm like, she was really good at algebra. I bet I could teach her calculus. So I have 3 months to basically sit down and teach you calculus that most people take over a couple years of courses, right?
Yeah.
Good luck. It's the same
To be the
type of
beautiful
projection.
mind. But it happens. There are guys that
No, it does. Absolutely, it does.
You
It's
just don't know.
as an evaluator, you can't sit here and say with firm belief and
right.
Faith and say that this guy's going to absolutely move from defensive lineman to linebacker. But you're going to say if he has a chance, that's what he's probably going to have to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, are you going to touch on any of the positions, that people flock to?
Oh, people like? Oh.
No, not that people like, but that are, more buzzwordy, buzzy.
Okay. So there seems to be some sort of debate about the best quarterback down there. And I know Garrett Nussmeier looked really good in the game.
He looked really good. So much that I was texting you.
The biggest issue with Nussmeier is going to be the size. He came in a little bit smaller than anybody expected him to, and then his hand size was also sub 9 inches, which is never a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think that when you look at Nuss, I think it's very safe to say that's Case Keenum 2.0. Long-term backup, potential fringe starter, comes in for a couple of teams at some point and plays 16 or 17 games over the course of a season as that sort of bridge quarterback. But you've got a really good long-term backup guy there. That's where he is. The guy that I really liked, and the more I watched him, the more I really liked him, was and we talked about him a little bit last week, but Cole Payton.
Yeah.
He was freaking phenomenal all week. And he struggled a little bit very early on, and it was the level of competition making the adjustment, but he progressed through the entire week. He also played fairly well in the game. And then he had the thing that I was texting with, Mark Gorsak. He was stuck at the airport. He got delayed coming back Sunday going to Pittsburgh.
Oh boy.
And I said, he's got a little Steve Young to him, doesn't he? And he's like, good comp. So that's kind of what I think of when I see Cole Payton. Steve Young had that, that smooth release and throwing motion, and he looked the part, and he was a good athlete, and he had good size and could be physical when he had to be. That's Cole Payton. Most lefty throwers you see look awkward, and I don't know if it's just us as the viewer looking at him going, that doesn't look right. That's the left hand.
Yeah.
To be frank with you, to be completely honest, I didn't even realize he was lefty until somebody said it. The ball comes out of his hand naturally. He looks really smooth as a thrower, and he was making some plays out there throughout the entire week of practice. So that's the quarterback I came away most impressed with.
Okay.
Really bummed for Nick Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talked about that guy a lot. That was my number one running back coming into the year.
Yeah.
Broke his foot during practice. Ended up he's gonna miss a lot of time with that.
That's rough.
Yeah, but somebody's gonna get a steal now when they pick him up. Wherever they get him. That's gonna where you get him. It's a steal now. That guy does everything. The John Carroll receiver was really fun. Was it Montgomery?
It was a big storyline. Yep.
Tyron Montgomery. I want to make sure I got his name right. And he kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't tracking him until he accepted his invite. Then some people threw me some tape so I could get a look at him.
Yeah.
And he held up. And what's kind of funny about it too is you got to remember that pretty 90% of that's an exaggeration. It feels like 90% of the league of executives and front office personnel come out of John Carroll. So, like, the entire sideline over there on the other side was watching him
Yeah.
pretty much every play intently.
He was
But
a
he lived
person
up.
yeah.
He lived up to it. He had a really good week. I
Good.
think that he probably did the best for himself out of that receiver group.
You kind of glanced over the rest of the running backs. Was there nobody else that? I mean, obviously, outside of Jeremiah Love in the running back class, he's kind of out there.
Yeah,
but I thought Jaden Ott was.
Well, Ott should have come out last year.
Right.
He was one of these guys that. Well, yeah, so he was doing really well at Cal, and he had a day 2 projection, day 2 grade if he come out last year, and he came back for another year, and then all the stuff goes down at Cal. There's some complicated stuff behind the scenes that he was trying to maneuver with his family. He ends up going to Oklahoma and it gets just buried on that depth chart. So the talent's still there. The talent never left. But the problem is this running back group it's Jeremiah Love, it's Jonah Coleman and Emmett Johnson. And then once those 3 are off the board, you're probably not going to see another running back touch till the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And then when one comes off the board, there's going to be a bunch in the next 30, 40 picks.
Yeah.
Because it's just this conglomerate group of guys that are just kind of stuck together, and it's pick your flavor all in that late day 2, early day 3 window. And that's kind of where Ott is going to try to hope to insert himself and get himself back into, but most likely he's probably toward the end of day 3.
He can be utilized as a fullback. He has played that in the Cal offense. Just throwing that out there for people who.
He's a little small for fullback.
But he is fierce and he can put on weight.
If you want a guy that's fierce, it's Kalen Black.
I do like Kalen Black. Yes, incredible player.
That's a fullback right there. If I've ever seen one. All right, and an undersized fullback. If I'm going to pick somebody, it's going to be Kalen Black. That guy is a freak. He's a freak. He
was, and he was impressive as well. What were your thoughts on the tight ends? My guy, John Michael Gillenborg, just dropping a real important pass there. I needed him to catch that one. That was really hard. That was rough.
This is not a great tight end group.
But Sam Roush, I thought, did well.
Roush, I'd go ahead and say Kaczmarek had a pretty good week out of Ohio State, and Tanner Kozol is just going to bring a lot of attention because of his sheer size and length as like a big receiving option. But this tight end group is not great. That's the thing. Not here. The guys that are going to get picked early didn't go to all-star games, and if they didn't go to all-star games, they're underclassmen. Kenyon Sadiq would have been great to see, but
it was a young group this year. So, but I always gotta ask because I love those. I love the tight ends. Is there anything else? Anybody else from any other group?
A lot of people asked about Jacob Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis at the linebackers. Rodriguez looked exactly how I thought he would, which is day 2, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
He's not a great athlete. He's an okay athlete, but he's instinctive.
He's very instinctive, yeah.
I'd like him to be a little bit bigger. I understand there's, because I took some flack this weekend because I said he was undersized. And people were like, he's 6'1", 230. He's not undersized. And it's like, look, if you're looking at the prototype linebacker right now that everybody's trying to get to, he's undersized. He's absolutely undersized. He's average. And Kyle Lewis is even smaller. Kyle Lewis is, I think, 5'11", came in at I'm gonna scroll down there and check. Where the heck did he go? Oh, there he is, 224. So Lewis is that kind of athlete that you're thinking maybe I don't keep you at linebacker. Maybe I go ahead and move you into the nickel. because you have that ability. And I think that's probably where he ends up going. Both of these guys are day 2 guys,
Okay.
like when it's all said and done, they're day 2. There is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing disrespectful about that.
No.
Day 2 guys are expected to be starters year 2. And that's exactly where I would pin them. They're going to be special teams guys. Lewis has got a chance to get on the field early in the right situation. But Rodriguez is going to be a really good special teamer. And that's very valuable these days. But the prototype linebacker size is moving to 6'2", 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
And we want these guys like 240 and being able to move. And when you got these guys that are kind of smaller, like a Rodriguez, like a Kyle Lewis, what ends up happening is as the talent starts to adjust, because that's what's happened in high school now, is now the linebackers are being produced at that size. Now they're going to college, developing their bodies, getting to that size. They're not playing wide receiver. They're not playing tight end anymore. They're playing linebacker. So as those guys cycle through college and come into the NFL, a guy like Rodriguez, a guy like Lewis loses value unless they can play somewhere else. In Lewis's case, I think so. In Rodriguez's case, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I know Rodriguez was a big people love him.
His story is phenomenal.
Yeah.
His girlfriend or wife, can't remember if they're married or not. She's a U.S. Army pilot, so and she's badass as hell too.
Yeah.
But the two of them are fun. He seems like he's a great guy to hang out with, like the life of the party.
Yeah.
There's no doubt he's going to be a great special teamer. I kind of think like a bigger Malcolm Rodriguez. I'm not making that comparison because they got the same last name, but they're very similar, except Malcolm's actually 5'11", Rodriguez is 6'1", but they're very similar.
Yeah. Well, is there any guys that you're are excited for their pro days? Or is there some guys that you haven't gotten a chance to talk about because they weren't in any of these kind of post-season all-star situations?
Oh, man.
Well, okay. Give me like 3. Give me 3 or 4 that you're really looking forward to the pro day timing and the pro day drills and whatnot.
Well, let's say we can go with combine.
Or combine, sure. Not everyone will go to the combine, so I didn't know if there's anyone that would just be a pro day guy.
Brandon Thompson, Mississippi State wide receiver. I'm very curious to see how fast he runs. He should be sub 4.2 or sub 4.3. He's gonna be in the 4.2s. I just want to see where in the 4.2s. He's a bolt of lightning. Ruben Bain. How does he test? That's the big question here. He looks like he could test really well.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how that goes. AJ Halsey, safety out of LSU. He initially accepted the invite to the Senior Bowl, ended up opting out. I don't know if it was a weather related thing or what, but I was really wanting to see him play. He didn't go down there and play, but he looks like he's going to be a really good safety at the next level. And lastly, I'm going to throw out a different one. Let's go with Jam Miller.
Okay.
Jam Miller, running back at Alabama.
Yeah.
This guy probably doesn't wow you with his 40, but I think he might test really well in a lot of other areas. But he looks like a carbon copy of Devin Singleton to me. And Devin Singleton or Singletary has had a really good career and got a pretty darn good second contract with the Giants. Tyrone Tracy came in and ended up taking a lot of the reps, and then Cam Scatterbo. So he's kind of been forgotten. But he was pretty darn effective of a runner at Buffalo. He did a good job. He's done a good job with the Giants. Jam Miller reminds me a lot of him, and I'm just curious how close they're going to align.
It's a solid list. Any group of 5 guys in pro days that you're looking forward to?
Oh man, you got to hit me with this one right now. I'm not thinking, bro. I'm not thinking
Um,
group of 5 right now.
well, I mean, there's gonna be some guys. I mean, it can't. I mean, you already talked to Cage Casey technically, so that
Yeah,
counts.
let's go with that San Diego State
Trey
offensive
White.
tackle. No,
Oh,
offensive
not that
tackle.
Trey. Okay.
Yeah, Trey White stayed in school. I think he went to Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he? Oh my god,
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they got their next David Bailey lined up.
Nice.
I think Christian Jones is somebody I'm very interested to see how he tests.
Okay.
So Christian Jones went down to the Hula Bowl. I think it was the Hula Bowl. I know he's in the American. I guess, well, maybe he skipped the American, the Hula, and went straight to the American. He accepted an invite to the Hula at some point.
Yeah.
Well, he goes to the American Bowl, and I'm trying to pull up his measurements here so I can read them off. Okay, 6'8" and 7/8, 341, 89-inch wingspan, 36 3/4 arm length. I mean,
yeah,
this is one of the biggest, longest dudes I've ever seen in my life, and he had a pretty good week at the American Bowl. And I kind of wish I could have seen him. Someone had called him up. Actually, I think the Shrine did call him up, if I'm not mistaken. I hadn't gotten around to seeing his tape over there yet because we had the Senior Bowl pop up. Yeah, he was a late addition to the Shrine.
Okay.
But I heard from scouts that were there at the American that he was one of probably the best prospects there.
Yeah.
And that usually when you got a tackle that's that big, you're worried about them getting low enough and engaging with people. He does it, and he's athletic. So right. I'm curious to see how athletic he's going to be at 6'9", 341.
6'9" is that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, this dude's a basketball player playing offensive tackle. It's awesome.
That's insane. That is insane. Well, I think that's a pretty good, 36-minute analysis of what's been going on. You did really good keeping it reined in. I'm proud of you.
Well, that's because we kept it with the position groups,
Yes,
we kept it with the position groups. And
we're not running rampant here and going crazy, but those were really, that was some good guys. I hadn't thought of a few of them, so it was good to hear that. But we're done with it now. Now we're just waiting for pro days, combines, and then we get to hit to the draft. So we're done with the all-star stuff. So that is one thing to check off the list. Do you feel good about where you're at, or do you have anybody else you want to throw in there?
No, we're good. Okay. We're good. Move along.
This is something I've been really excited. Obviously, I wanted to talk about, the guys and everything, but college football news of the day is they dropped the schedule for the playoff schedule for next year. And what's funny is I got the communications email and I scanned through it, and I was just like, I was more concerned with which bowls were designated, and I didn't even really look at the dates, because to me, especially in media, it doesn't really matter. Like, they are when they are, and you go when you go, and you don't really think about it. And then I started reading all the comments, and people are pissed. Lane Kiffin, I think, was the most outspoken about it, and he basically just was like, what is going on? He said somehow the calendar got even worse on purpose. Kids play games until January 25th and have almost a month between games. What are your thoughts on this? Are you upset? Do you think this is bad for college football? Do you think this is where inevitably it was going to go?
This is not what I thought they were going to do.
What do you think they were going to do?
I thought they were going to keep the same schedule. Honestly.
But something had to change, especially when you look at New Year's Eve falling on a Thursday. I mean, that was the big push, though, is, I guess, statistically, I had the number here. Statistically, they don't do well when they have to stack up, on NFL against NFL windows of viewership, and so they moved it all together. So now the game's the 30th, and then they stacked 3 on the first, because they did not want to compete with that Thursday night NFL window, which I get.
It's so stupid, though. Look, I get it. The NFL's king. But
Yeah.
here's the first problem with it is
Okay.
we spent a lot of time talking about the teams of the bye. Indiana is the only team now that has beat the bye.
Yeah.
And they won the whole damn thing.
And they're an anomaly. They're not going to be
correct.
They're the exception. They're not the rule. So we just got to kind of throw that out. Yeah. In that regard.
With that, so that's the first I knew that probably wouldn't get addressed, and especially not this year.
No.
It's going to create a lot of controversy. But then, okay, so now you've got a game being played on the 30th, and then you've got 2 on the 1st, or 3 on the 1st.
3 on the 1st, yeah, triple header.
Right. So what ends up happening now is basically you have 6 teams that'll play. So 3 will move on to the next round. And one of them is going to have a 2-day advantage in rest. I'm telling you, I know we talked about this. I know you don't really believe that, rust. This isn't a rust thing. That's a good rest. 2 days is good to have.
Okay.
Anything over a week extra is probably bad. And it's just because not being able to match the physicality, not being able to go out there and practice like you normally can. So if you're going to let some team have a 2-day advantage on whoever they're playing next. If they win that freaking game, all hell is going to break loose inside of college football. And you're going to see a lot more pushes for Nick Saban to get more involved, I think. I'm not saying that either. I think that's going to be the push that we're going to see is Nick Saban's talked about it a little bit. A lot of people have talked about it. I think Nick Saban or someone of that stature has to step in and start being like, okay, look, I'm finally coming in here and we're working on this and we're fixing this.
Okay, but what is the fix? Because obviously you have Dan Lanning over here like, oh, the entire season should be done by January 1st. That's insane. I mean, because you cannot fit all of it.
Harder.
Yeah.
That is harder.
I'm not saying that, but now we're at a national championship game this next year that's on January 25th, which is like last week, which is insane. That it's too much.
Yeah, it's way too much. I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, to be fair, I don't have a solution because I
presented the solution. You didn't like it. That's the problem. The solution
we're not moving Army Navy. We're not moving Army Navy.
The solution is Army Navy has to play Friday. They got to play Friday at 2:30.
I mean, that is like a last resort, Hail Mary thing that I will only agree to if there's really no other option. And I cannot believe there's no other option.
There is.
What are they going to do if they ever expand? But
here's the thing:
until February, until the Super Bowl.
No, but the only way that we beat this, the only way that we fix this is the bowl commissions have to come down. And that's what's the root cause here is the bowl.
There's too many bowl.
There's the Rose Bowl, there's the Orange Bowl, there's this Cotton Bowl, there's the
You're saying get rid of New Year's 6 games? Quote unquote.
All of them. That's the money that you're going up against. That's what's pushing this whole thing because they're the ones that are insisting that they be played on New Year's because that's what they've always done. And I get it. Tradition.
Well, it's
that's a huge part of college football.
Than anything, it's the broadcasting money. Because in 2027, it's going to go back to New Year's, allegedly.
No, and I understand, but my point is the whole reason that we have that round of playoff games is because that's the only way that the bowl commissions are happy. Is if they're played on that weekend. Because the reality is you don't need the bowl commissions. And I know that for diehard college football fans that have, enjoyed the tradition and all this stuff, look, y'all wanted a national championship too. Y'all wanted a playoff. Okay. Now we have a playoff and now you're whining about the tradition being erased. That's because the tradition does not support the playoff. It doesn't.
I never wanted the playoff, to be fair. So I wanted none of this. And I Now I want these, like, some of these bowls are ridiculous, in my opinion. And we need to get rid of stuff.
Guaranteed rate bowl down there,
It's just,
bringing in a couple 5 and 7 teams to play against each other
where
on
I
a
just,
random
the
Tuesday
numbers
night on
can,
ESPN.
the numbers cannot be good enough to support some of this. Like, it's actually insane to me. From a tourism and a broadcast standpoint, I would love to see the numbers on some of these and understand, because there's no way. We just need to dial some of those back and then reassess the scheduling. But I don't know.
That part I don't disagree with, but so if you're going to have a proper playoff,
yeah,
you're going to play it. You're going to play the first round Army Navy week. You're going to play the second round the next week after that. You're going to play the third round the weekend after that. And that's the problem, is that now you start to conflate with the NFL schedule, because the NFL nowadays, when the college football season is traditionally ended, they're like, oh, let's start playing games on Fridays and Saturdays, and let's spread out the week and get people to watch it more. And so that's what happens, is now you're like competing with the NFL directly, and that's what they're trying to avoid.
right.
But the biggest problem with the schedule right now is that the big bowl games, the only way that you keep them happy is that you make the big bowl games part of the playoff. And they're not going to settle to take, Iowa versus Vanderbilt in a Rose Bowl matchup or a Cotton Bowl matchup. You know what I mean? They're not okay with that. They want the best teams, and the playoff is the best thing. And so they're the guilty party here that's messing with the entire schedule, and that's making all this whack, because those round games should be played the very next week after the first round. They should. And so, to Dan Lanning's point, we could have the season wrapped up January 4th, January 5th.
Yeah, not January 1st. Not January 1st.
Not
I would say the end of the first week of January would be, I guess,
it'd be the end.
It used to be. Yeah. It used to be January 9th was the Natty, 8th or 9th, whatever it was. That was the day. And then it creeped, and now this year it's on the 25th, and that's crazy.
It's just, that's too much. And that's the NFL isn't going to like it either, because that's interfering with their evaluations and stuff.
Playoffs. Yeah.
Well, not even just their playoff, but their evaluations now, because typically your national championship game is going to have 30 prospects on the field, so that's messing with that now too. It's just gotten out of hand. And that's, I'm just pointing out that it's the bowl commissions that are the guilty party right now.
I would like to say that I am not pointing fingers at any bowl commissions, because I respect you guys and would like to still be credentialed. So I'm not blaming you. I have a lot of friends on these bowl commissions. I do not think it's your fault.
No, look, I'm not trying to crap on them or anything. I'm just saying,
I understand.
This is the problem with the schedule. This is why it can't be fixed this way.
We need to figure it out. And if that takes Nick Saban coming back and telling people what to do, great. I support that. Somebody needs to tell somebody what to do, and those people need to listen.
Somebody not named Josh Pate.
Sure.
Nick Saban would be ideal. I'd even take Reese Davis at this point. Reese, come in here and fix this damn thing.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of it that I wanted to touch on, because it was just it was crazy to see everybody just explode about it and be so upset. And with no solution, really. People are just upset, and we just don't know what to do about it. But the College Football Playoff Committee, standing firm. So we'll see what happens. But I feel like next year, with everything, next year in college football is going to be a really pivotal year, because we have the adjustment to the portal. We still have the NIL trying to be figured out, and maybe some rulings being passed on that. And, we're living in a post-Indiana world where they were national championship. Is that a model people can follow? I don't think so, but maybe. And I think next year is super pivotal for how some things shake out. And that includes the playoff now, because it's it's probably going to go terribly. And then there's going to have to be change. So
it's also going to be very pivotal to the All-Star season with the draft.
Yeah. 100%.
I think we're going to start seeing some major changes in the All-Star circuit starting next year as well. Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have to bookmark this and check in, next January and see where we're at.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that is pretty much it. I mean, there were some things I wanted to touch on with coaches, but we can talk about that next time. We need to have a few coaches on and maybe talk about some of this stuff too. And
Yeah,
see.
well, we got to get your boy Cage. We got to get
Yes.
actually, I got a good one.
Ooh.
Landon Robinson.
Love Landon. Yes.
Yeah, I may have hit him up on X already. He followed me.
Oh,
the other day.
perfect. Is he in?
Mhm.
Oh,
To be determined.
well, I'll put in a word as well, and we'll get there.
Let's do it.
Well, stay tuned. Then we're gonna have some great NFL prospects coming on in the coming weeks. Maybe some coaches, maybe some scouts. Who knows? We're gonna keep it fun for this draft season. So I think I'm good. If you're good,
Mhm.
All
Let's
right.
go.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Sick Podcast Draft Digest. I'm your host, Emily Van Buskirk, for John Vogel. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Draft Digest on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.